I'm going to share with you a really simple way of wrapping your Christmas presents by putting them in a box first of all, a nice square box, so it's much easier to wrap. And I prefer to use recycled gift paper because I just think it's a huge waste that we rip up our presents on Christmas morning and we just chuck the paper away. And this is something I've picked up from my dad. Now, my dad used to wrap up my mum's Christmas presents in the colour supplements to the weekend papers, and we always thought he was crazy, but obviously he was ahead of his time. And what you might want to do is to pick up start collecting Christmas themed supplements and so on, and they make really great gift wrapping. Unfortunately, this one here, which I really love, isn't quite big enough for my box. So what I have done is I've got a sheet of paper that my flowers were wrapped up in, and so I like to keep this paper. It seems such a shame just to put it straight into recycling when I could reuse it first of all. And you do need to be a tiny bit careful because you can see that it's got crease lines in it, but it's all part of that gift giving and reusing that I'm sure a few creases can be. Quite often you'll find you use too much wrapping paper with your gift, and the trick is just to use just enough. So what I'm going to do here is to hold the wrapping paper up to the side of my box. I want to go about 3/4 of the way up, and that will be how wide I want my paper on both sides, and the same on the other side, about there. And then using the little lines, these are just little grain lines on the wrapping paper. I'm not quite sure you'll be able to see those, but I'm working up the grain to try and cut as straight a line as possible, and then to roll my paper over to gauge where I need to cut again. And I can do that with just putting a little fold in there so I know how long my sheet of wrapping paper needs to be, and this time I will need to eye it up and cut in as straight a line as I can. Get rid of that piece. And then the second really good piece of advice is to use sticky tape, and I've got double-sided sticky tape here. It'd be really useful for some of the other crafting projects I've shown you, including attaching your bay leaves to the side of jam jars to make nightlight holders, and it's just much easier having it on a dispenser than having to peel off the backing paper. So to hold everything secure, I'm going to put a piece of the tape onto my box to hold that in place, and then to pull as tautly as I can. And what I'm going to do is to fold over this cut end of the wrapping paper just so it ends with a nice fold rather than a jaggedy edge, and to run some more of the double-sided tape across the join there, and then keeping it quite taut on the box, and remembering this is a one-time placement only. You've got to get it right, and holding it quite taut and then firming it down, and then you can work around the corners of your box to give you some really crisp edges. And then to pack the ends of the box, slide the paper down here and make some crisp corners like that, and then fold those across again, all the time trying to make really crisp folds so it really is streamlined. And then the last one in here like so, and then I'm going to put sticky tape on these two edges here and stick it back onto the package at the top. So one piece of tape across the bottom and a smaller piece into the pointed area, and fold that all back in place. So you've got a really neat end. Now the second end is much easier to do because you can stand your box on end. So really crisp line there, a crisp line here, fold down with another crisp line, and down with another crisp line, and just make sure it is all nice and flat. That's going to look really great. And then more double-sided tape on there, a piece on that side and a piece on the other, and smooth that down. So you've got a really great package there, and you just make sure the edges are really crisp. And now you might remember that I showed you how to make a bow in the previous video, and you could then attach that onto your parcel. And just to make it look extra special, what I like to do is to put some ribbon going round first of all around the box. So I'm going to do that and glue and stick it on the bottom. So I'm measuring round, trim off there. Same again with the double-sided tape to secure it in position. Oops. Like so, and then putting it nice and taut. Oh, that's too taut. Pulled the fixing out. Nice and taut. And that goes over like that, and then you can trim off the excess. So that's that way, and then the other way. So it's sort of faking up the parcel round like that, and I know I need about that much. And again, attaching it there, I've got too much of an overlap there, so I'll just trim a bit more of that off, and then attach that using my double-sided tape. Oops. Just make sure all the gold, I've got gold lines on the edge of this, just making sure they all line up like so. The last piece there. This is where conventionally you would have tied your bow around, and you probably would have done it in one long piece, but I'm, as I say, just faking it all up. And then I shall cut the ribbon tie off my bow there, and then with more double-sided tape stick that into my parcel. And there you have a really great way of decorating your parcel, but then faking it up with a bow. Obviously your choice of bow colour and how big you make your bow, but just a really simple way of decorating a package. Start off with this nice square box, makes it much easier to wrap, and when you attach the ribbons around the edge, do it in 2 pieces, and then add your pre-made bow at the end, and it looks like you've done that with 1 piece of ribbon. In fact, it's 3 separate pieces. Now you might want to not favour a bow if you want to keep things more simple. That same wrapping mechanism, I've gone round with a reel of the baker's twine and just gone over and over and over that way, and then tied off and around this way. And I've left myself a little bit of string here, and just to make it look even more special, that I've got a piece of garden bay and some hydrangea from the garden, and I will tie those in place. Obviously this is more of a personalised gift, something you're going to hand to somebody rather than putting under the tree, because the flowers and the leaves will get squashed. So I would advise this is one for a special person in your life where you're just going to hand it direct to them, and you can decorate it like that in a much more natural form. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I shall see you for tomorrow's little video.